Yeah, hi everyone. So what a round of football. One of the most, roller coaster of weekends. It's crazy. Momentum swings all over the place. Huge upsets. Some of the biggest surprises. How'd I go in Supercoach? Pretty mediocre. There's a few things that went wrong. It wasn't mostly too bad, but two really things that went my way went against me. Two mistakes, or one mistake, and we'll explain in a second. So it just dropped down in ranks 133. It's not a huge deal. I was hoping to get in the top 15,000 this week. And then a round ranking of just under 30,000. So pretty mediocre, only 2 league wins. And I did make a trade, which we'll get to in a minute. So start off with Lockie Weirfield, 152, and he's now my most expensive defender, which is a bit of a surprise because he's done a really he's had a really fantastic last month or two. He's been phenomenal. He's actually probably been one of the best defenders over the last month. I'm happy with his score. Sort of saved my season from being even worse than what it already has been. Yeah, phenomenal. And then we've got the Sheasel, 105. It's the standard score. Dacos, 101. And then Nick Martin, 104, which is okay considering he had a terrible first half. I think he was only on 27 at half time. And I thought, it might be, another crap score, but he got a couple of goals and sort of helped Essendon get over the line as well. And then you got Luke Ryan, picked as a captain option, which, isn't in a regular week it wouldn't be that bad, but this week we'll explain in a second mistake that I made, which sort of cost me the round. I was hoping that Ryan could get like 150 because I know, we've been conceding a lot of points to defenders. Like last week was Nasai Wenga, and a few other St Kilda defenders also scored a lot as well the other week. And just with the turnovers and poor inside forward 50 efficiency, and I thought Ryan, would get a huge score. And it was looking like that to begin with in the first half. He was on like 75 at half time. But then he dropped off a little bit in the second half. Yes, because our efficiency was a little bit better in the second half. 126 is still all right. And it was still one of Freo's best players, or in terms of Supercoach scoring. He got like around about 30 disposals, I believe. So, he had a good game. Maybe could have made a bit more impact. And probably a lot of people have, Bontempelli as VC option, which we'll get to in a second. And then we've got Houston 105, which is okay. And he's dropped off the last month as well. But he did all right on the weekend. And then, no defensive coverage here, which is a bit of a concern. It's probably the only major, concern I have with my back line, to be honest. There's no one here that I'm really overly concerned about compared to other areas of my team, to be honest. So I reckon defence is probably the most sound. Just trying to think who else I'd prefer in defence. Maybe we could probably get rid of Nick Martin potentially, but other than that, there's no one really. I'm somewhat satisfied with the back line, just to put it that way. There's less issues with it. There's no backup option, and that's probably the major concern. That's the main improvement. Because if one of these gets injured or laid out, I need that extra coverage. And then onto the midfield. So this is where I really stuffed up here. So we'll get to that in a second with the forward line. But we got Bontempelli, 182. Everyone had him as VC, and it just sort of stuffed up the round before it really started. It was just a silly decision. One of the biggest mistakes I made this weekend. It sort of cost you, 50, 60 points. Which is just, irritating, to be honest. It should be bread and butter. You put Von as VC, but I was stupid enough not to do it. I wasn't expecting to get 180. Sometimes he gets under 100, like he did against Essendon, which sort of stuffed up a lot of people's, rounds that week. this week he obviously didn't do that, but there's a high chance of that happening. Melbourne's out of form, and now I'm surprised Bulldogs dominated that much. I mean, not a huge surprise. I did tip him, but to get absolutely destroy a side like that, it should have been more. Should have been like a 10-goal win, to be honest. Probably even more than that. Melbourne was shocking. Bulldogs, just absolutely dominated, and 3 votes clearly will go to Bont this match. Biggest mistake I made this round. It's put me back. I'm probably in the top 15,000 this round overall if it wasn't for that. On to Zach Butters, 132. Good game from him. Good game from Port. It's the best game I've probably ever seen him play, to be honest. Port. That's just... that's the shot. All the years I've been watching AFL, that's probably the biggest surprise I've ever seen. By a fair amount. I mean, that just... I'm just still shocked from that. Top side, to lose by over 100 points. Now, what are the odds of that? And Sarong, 102. That's pretty average score. Free weren't that great. Sarong, I mean, it's not a huge deal. Merritt, 116, had a slow start, but he finished off strong and helped his side get over the line. With Merritt, he's been a fairly consistent player. He hasn't had a real terrible game. He hasn't had a absolutely phenomenal game of getting 150 plus scores. So, I mean, he's still probably by far our best player. But I mean, it's just it hasn't been extremely dominant, but it hasn't been absolutely terrible. And I'll just take it. Green, 119. So he's bounced back in the last month after having a horrible 1 or 2 months. If I had a lot more trades, I didn't waste a few. I didn't waste my trades in the last 2 months. I probably would have had another trade to a Dunkley or a Neil, who didn't do that well this weekend anyway, considering their side won. So, I mean, you just hold on to him for now. He's doing okay. And Walsh, 108. So a little disappointing from Walsh. I mean, it's just standard. It's a player we all brought in and just hasn't really delivered other than the first week. There might have been another match too, he did alright, but he hasn't been quite as consistent. He wasn't as good as what he was a few years ago. He had a really good season, but he seems to dropped off a little bit ever since that injury. And then you've got Dawson, 98. So he was only about 90 at 3/4 time and failed to get 100, which is very frustrating. Should have got to at least 110 from there, and I would have been, somewhat happy with that. So Dawson, one of the biggest disappointments in my side this season. Should never have got him to begin with, but it is what it is. And then we've got Matt Rao, 122, his best game in 2 months. So they kept, Gold Coast going along. I'm happy with that. 122. Just more of it. Where has this been, Matt Rao? Where has this been? He's definitely been more capable than what he's done the last couple of months. And then we've got the bench here. So Carrolding gets selected and Browning gets selected, but Downing had a bit of a shocker with 44. So they don't make any difference there. Then on to the rucks, 130 from Gawn and 102 from English. So Gawn, once again, shows why he's the best ruck in the comp. Although I reckon there's another person we'll talk about later on. I guess with Sherry, might even be the best ruckman in the competition in a few years' time. I'll probably start him next year unless he gets injured. And English, 102, bit average. They were playing against each other, so I wasn't really expecting one of these two to go off. And then on to the forwards. So this is where I'm going to say shit show begins. Actually, no one scored above 100 in the forward line, which is a bit of a surprise. So we'll start off with Flanders, vice captain option. Probably the biggest mistake I've made this season, or not the biggest, not the season, but definitely this round. I thought, they're playing West Coast over there. Yeah, Flanders been arguably one of the most consistent players this season. He rarely gets over under 100. And what does he do when I put him as VC? He gets under 100. He had a great first half as well. I think he was on 70 at half time and he just dropped off. So it wouldn't have been as big as a deal. If you got 140, I would have been happy with that. It's frustrating. Over Bont. I mean, look. So I think in future, Bont plays Friday nights. I'll just have to pick him as a vice captain option now, which I usually would, but it's actually done a bit better this last month or two. Had a bit of a mediocre start to the season, but he's bounced back. So, yeah, that's just silly. I mean, it is what it is. I tried to make a bold prediction. It just didn't work out. Didn't take the gamble with Ryan. So I still got more, with Ryan anyway. So my prediction sort of worked out there a little bit. I was hoping Ryan to get 150. And then you got Zorko here, 96, which is, pretty average for his side, absolutely belting St Kilda. But St Kilda actually had a couple more high Supercoach scorer players than any other Brisbane player, which says a lot about St Kilda. They only really have, a couple of good players, but after that it drops off a fair bit. And then you've got Moore, 94, who dropped off a little bit in the second half. That's an okay score. I traded him for Fisher because Fisher wasn't selected. I thought I just don't have the patience for this. So hopefully, Moore doesn't get injured or anyone else does. I just lost a trade doing that. I should have done that last week, and I would have been, a little bit better off. It's just bringing in Fisher just been a bit of a disaster when I did bring him in. It's just you get Ginger gets subbed, and it's just bad luck. It sort of just screwed up the last month as well. I could have brought him more earlier, or Cardwell, and I would have been in a way better position. And then Heaney, it's one of his worst performances of the year, and he's down to 500k. And he was in Brownlow form at the start of the season, and when I didn't own him, he did well, and everyone else had him, but now since I've owned him, he's dropped off. Typical. I don't really wreak out the rewards. So he's dropped off, same with Sydney, and that's probably the worst performance they've done for what I've seen in my lifetime anyway. And being on top of the ladder to lose over 100 points, I don't know if I've ever heard of that. No, I just don't know. Maybe someone else there you can bring up a time where a top sides lose more than over 100 points. I just don't know. And then you got Luke Jackson, 48. He kicked a couple goals, which sort of saved him scoring for being even worse. Actually, Freo lost to Rake Battle today, which was a bit surprising. They had playing against Brian and Draper, and you would think they would cover them pretty comfortably, but it wasn't the case. Darcy and Jackson, a little bit disappointing. So without the 2 goals, Jackson probably would have been like a 20. So it just doesn't work with having Darcy there. It just doesn't work. And then speaking of disappointments, 33 from Curnow. So he's not even top of the column at the moment. Hogan, he's probably been the best forward now this season. And Curnow, I just don't know what to make it. He's been on it the last couple of weeks, but he's just out some of the shittest scores. I should have went with Cardwell. With Curnow, I thought, okay, he's going to have at least a 140 plus score at least coming out because he had Richmond and North Melbourne, but he was unable to really do that. He was unable to belt those sides around, considering, where they are on the ladder and how good Curnow is. That prediction never made out. Sort of like when I took the gamble with him last year, he got a couple, 10 goals hauls against West Coast, which worked out. It sort of worked out in the end of the pick, but this year it hasn't. And I was better off going with Cardwell or bringing in more earlier. And in future, I'll just pick the safer option with the player that has a higher floor. Do you think Cardwell's going to get a 33 unless he gets subs out or he gets injured? Or if that's going to get done by over 100, which, even then, he's not going to score a 33. So, Collingwood took Kerner out of the game, and it really hurt Carlton. And that's the thing with Carlton. If Kerner and Mackay have a poor game, they're in a bit of trouble. And then Mana scored 46 points more. So, I think he played before as well. So, I could have banked that extra points in. The problem is it was just the game earlier, so I didn't have much time to do a change around that time too, where you usually have dinner and stuff. So it's a bit of an awkward time slot to quickly change the player. I mean, if Man had scored 100, I probably would have done it. Swap with Kerno and deal with that. I don't have to deal with that bullshit. But it is what it is. So I guess the forward line was a little disappointing. And not having the vice captain option on Bontempelli sort of killed it this weekend. Otherwise, it would have been too bad. I mean, all my defenders scored over 100, which is great. Happy with that. All my midfielders except Dawson scored over 100. Happy with that. And same with the ruckman. It was just the forward line was disappointing. And I guess not having Bontempelli's VC, but I wasn't expecting a 180. He could have dished out, like I said, under 100 points score. But Melbourne's midfield has been so crap. It was so shocking on Friday night. It's just, Oliver, not having Petrarca there, Viney hasn't performed as well this year. It's really sort of, destroyed Melbourne this year. Just things haven't gone their way. My season's already finished anyway for me. It was done a while ago. I was probably done with the first 4 or 5 rounds, to be honest, but I pulled back away a bit, but just made silly decisions and just wasting dumb trades during the trade buy periods. And it just sort of stuffed up our back half, by not trading in this certain player. And it's sort of Miller as well. Miller and Sweet were the real 2 killer blows that I do too many trades or was underperforming for. I should never got rid of Grundy, even though he sort of dropped off in the last month. There was nothing ever wrong with being Grundy there. But we'll talk about the rucks probably later next year, who I reckon is going to be the number 1 ruck. I'm going to reckon Sherry, and maybe still Gorn. He's getting older though. So look, overall, could be better. Could have been a lot worse. I think in future, maybe read the matchups a little bit better. But once again, I wasn't expecting Flinders to get that score, and I wasn't expecting Bontempelli to get 180. It doesn't matter who they are; you're not getting 180 every week. So yeah, I got lucky last week with a captain option, but this week I just fell apart. And then next week, who do we got here? North West Coast. Got Brisbane, GWS, and you got Sydney, Collingwood. I'm not too sure to have his vice captain option there. Then you got Freo, Geelong. And then you've got Adelaide, Bulldogs. You could probably put Bond as captain. It wouldn't be that bad. Could even put Sinclair as captain if you have him against Richmond. Oh, geez, this is a tough one. Butters against Melbourne could work, although it is at the G. Don't really want to have a free player against Geelong. Could work out though. Could go so wrong. No, he's been out of form. This one's a tough one. Will you go Dacos? I might even go Dacos here. The captain. We'll go with Bont. Go with Bont this week. And that's it. No more trades at this stage unless there's some injury or a late out. I've only got one more. So I'm pretty much done really for this season. There's really nothing really much more I can really do with this side. Ideally, I would like to have a defensive as a backup option. It's probably the one thing, that I could probably really improve on. But I'd rather have just an extra trade just in case there's some drama that goes on. Yeah, that's it for this week for me. Just a standard average week for Supercoach anyway. Thank you for watching.